So today I have Suzanne Smith, and how do I know Suzanne? I know Suzanne through, well, for a couple of years now, through the Run for Fun Facebook page, and we've been following each other's journey. We did meet briefly, and I think it was a very hello, a couple of years back when a load of Run for Fun runners got together at the the Liverpool Half Marathon, if I'm correct, the Rock at the end of May.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know you then. It was only through the Facebook pages, the running pages. We've both been on other groups as well. We seem to stalk each other. And on one group, we did do a streak together. Only you and I ended up doing it for a month. I ended up getting shingles afterwards, and you just carried on. We did it. So yeah, Suzanne's my streaky sister, my virtual streaky sister. And I know myself, I'm really keen to know how her running tale began. So over to you, Suzanne. When did you start running?
Well, I was a little bit sporty at school in the sense that I did team sports. I was never into running. I used to get made to do the 1500 metres in any athletics inter-schools competitions, which I was rubbish at. But I think they just like to include everybody. So, and I hated it. It was far too far for me to run. Everybody else was doing short distance. So after that, it was team sports. And then as I got a bit older, it was more doing gym work. And I would sometimes use a treadmill. This is kind of in my 20s. I'd use the treadmill to just do a warm up and do my cardio section of my gym routine. And then occasionally I would go, oh, I think I'll try and do 5K. So that's kind of how it started in that respect. But that was just gym warm up, as I say, or gym cardio. And then I occasionally would go out now and again, just a little, oh, I think I'll do a bit of running. So it'd be like, you know, twice a week for a few weeks, and then it would all stop again. And then it started actually properly running in my well, I just turned 40. So, oh gosh, you know this story.
No, please share.
I had a baby boy who was 4 months prem, Hayden, and he's now well, he's actually 9 years old next week. And he was due, as I say, in November. So he was 4 months prem. He'll be nine years old next week. So it's 9 years ago that he was born, and he was actually a twin. His twin was born first, and sadly he didn't survive. He was actually stillborn. It's just quite hard to talk about. And I didn't really grieve, I guess, because you got thrown from that straight into delivering a second baby, and then, you know, straight into intensive care. And then it was a 24/7 nightmare for months on end before he came out of hospital. And it was literally round the clock watching this emotional roller coaster, going through this emotional roller coaster of having a baby in neonatal, which is, as anybody who's had a premature or poorly baby will know, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back all the time. You know, it goes, one day you have a good day, the next day there's an infection, the next day the heart rate's dropping, the next day, you know, they're feeding better. It just goes from one thing to another. So moving swiftly on, we got him home in the November, and then a year later, I think I was just starting to recover a little bit from the whole trauma of, obviously, you know, losing Jamie, my baby, and looking after Hayden. And I just literally started running. That's just what happened. I just started running, and then I didn't really stop. And I guess for me, it was therapy. That's how it started. I kind of had this baby home for a year now, and we got used to having him, and we saw he was progressing well and everything, and life was just starting to get back to normal. And I think I used that time to kind of escape and to spend time with my other baby that I lost almost in the beginning.
Yeah.
Where I live is in the Lake District. I live in a beautiful part of the country, and I was surrounded by, I mean, I live somewhere, a different area now, but we've always overlooked Blencathra, which is one of the Northern Fells. And so every route that I did always took me past Blencathra, and I almost felt like Blencathra was a bit of a guardian angel in a way, always looking down at me. And those early runs were quite tricky. I had probably a year, 18 months, and even in now occasionally it catches me out where I'd be in the middle of a run and all of a sudden I'd get hit by the grief again. And I'd literally have to stop in my tracks and just stop and be doubled over. I just couldn't go on for a while. I had to collect my thoughts and then carry on. And but you know, I think time moves on and you can become, you know, more focused, and you start to meet people, and then you start doing events, and it kind of becomes part of your life, doesn't it? As you well know. I mean,
I'm with you there. I'm with you there. So with you, obviously, you know, you just woke up one morning and went, I'm getting my trainers on. Went out
yeah,
for long runs. That was your time.
yeah.
You know, with your thoughts. When did you start picking up, joining the running groups on Facebook? Did
Well,
you join a
I
club
joined.
or?
No, I joined a club probably about 6 months or so, maybe a year. I can't remember exactly when I joined a running club. I've since moved to a different running club because I'm geographically closer to the other running club now, which is Eden Runners. Hello, Eden Runners. Based in Penrith, and they're just fantastic. And we joined them in, I think it was May 2016. I joined that running club. But going back to what you were saying about groups, yeah, I did join a running group quite early on Facebook because I knew nothing. I mean, I know people say, oh, you just put one in front of the other, but as you kind of become, I'm a little bit all or nothing as a person. So I'm either doing something and I'm doing it thoroughly, or I'm just not bothering with it at all. So I wanted to know more about it. I wanted to get better. And actually, what I found with running was it really helped with my self-esteem and my self-worth and my self-confidence, because I've always had very low self-worth. And I think what happened with me when I lost Jamie was I started to put myself first a little bit more, because I thought, well, you know, I deserve something here. I've gone through this awful trauma, and I kind of need to look after myself a little bit. So, and I stopped worrying so much about, you know, other people and everything else in terms of using them to value myself. I started to find my own self-worth. I didn't need so much other people to do it. And running was a great outlet for that for me, because I picked it up quite quickly. I mean, I started off, you know, probably, I don't know, on an average run, I would be probably 4 minutes a mile slower than I am now, at least, if not more. So I didn't, you know, because everybody thinks I'm a fairly decent-ish runner, and I didn't start like that. You know, I've come through the process like everybody else has. But I wanted to. I wanted to get better. I was driven to get better, and I guess, you know, part of that was the grief. Part of it was I was getting, you know, driven by the inner strength that I was starting to develop. When you go through any trauma, you find out how strong you really are.
Did you have support groups at the time, or was you totally on your own, and then it was running that helped you find yourself again, or did someone?
I was totally on my own. My ex-husband obviously was going through the same trauma, but we handled it very, very differently. And, you know, we've since, you know, split up when I divorced, and I'm with now a running friend that I met through a running group. But it was, I felt very, very alone. And actually, I still feel very alone in the sense of what my experience was. You know, other people have gone through a similar process, but your grief is personal. Nobody can really get to grips with your grief because it's unique and everybody handles things differently. So yeah, the running was definitely me. It was my.
Whoa.
Sorry, my phone buzzed.
So you're right. That's okay. So you were saying running for you. I'll edit that bit. So running for you.
Yeah, I did have groups, but I didn't kind of go through everything, the process with groups. It was more the running itself was helping me as I mean, I've always said running is therapy, you know, as
Yeah.
well as having goals and this, that, and the other. It is actually therapy. I mean, it's so many things, isn't it, to so many people. But you find, I think you've probably spoken to hundreds of people who running has really helped mentally as well as physically.
Do you find that if you haven't run, that your thoughts about Jamie, it tends, you know, like you're saying that the anniversary, well, the birthday is coming up. Are you finding that you're going out running more when it comes to big events like birthdays,
Yeah,
Christmas?
yeah, and it does really help. I mean, you don't even sometimes realise what day of the month it is or anything, but and you suddenly start feeling different, and then you realise it's probably, yeah, you realise what date it is or what month it is, and it starts to come up, and then you realise actually that's probably why I'm feeling like this. But yeah, the running, it becomes my time to really give Jamie that time, because
Yeah,
as a mum of two other boys, he doesn't get the time, and he's still my baby. You know, I'm still his
yeah.
mum. He's not here with me, but I'll always be his mum, and he'll always be with me. And he is my, I guess he's my running buddy in a way. He's always with
You're
me. I
running
did
angel,
Lakeland,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I did Lakeland 50. When was I last do Lakeland 50? 2018, and it happened to be on the anniversary stroke Hayden's birthday. And I took some of the petals up with me, and as I was going up one of the fells, I checked my watch, and at the time that he was born, I stopped and took some petals, because I'd had flowers done for his grave, but a florist very kindly did a separate little sachet of some of the petals for me so that I could take them with me up on Lakeland 50. So I stopped for a moment in the middle of Lakeland 50. Everyone must have wondered what on earth I was doing, and
No.
just scattered these petals and just had a moment to reflect. And that Lakeland 50 event is always, that will always be very special to me and mean a lot to me.
So
Yeah, so
how
it's things like that.
are you going to like cope this year, in a sense that there is no races, you've got nothing like that? Will you go for a run yourself on the day of the?
I'll go for a run myself. I mean, he's got a grave, so I always go to his grave, and I take the other boys with me. And obviously Hayden is his twin, and he usually wants to put the flowers down and that kind of thing. So it's a bit of a, you know, we go together, and I will do a run, yeah, and it will be Jamie's run, and what I tend to do is run near the churchyard on that day.
So with not just running itself, I've noticed with you as well, and what I found quite inspirational is, okay, it's been 9 years and you say it's hard to talk about, but you have been very supportive and very open on your posts in the running groups about your grief and what you've gone through. And there, I have seen on the comments other runners that have been through the same. I know a runner locally, a male runner, who, you know, lost a daughter, I think after an hour or so of being born. So he'll relate to this
Yeah,
podcast himself. But do you get that support, you know, when you see all those comments that come through from all those other runners that can, you know, have experienced what you have? How do you feel that you've been
I
so
think,
open to?
yeah, I think it's important to be able to talk about it. I mean, I don't, on a day-to-day basis, I don't talk about it,
No.
but I think it's important for people to identify, and they may not even want to say themselves what they've been through, but sometimes you want to know, no, you don't want people to have experienced it, obviously, but you want to know if somebody has.
Yeah.
That, and there's somebody out there with a connection. I mean, there are several runners that we both know who've been in
Yeah.
several running groups that we've both been part of, male actually, who've been through, you know, similar or lost children.
Yeah.
And it's, I think a lot of people go through this kind of trauma, or any kind of trauma really, and as we were saying before, running really helps. And when I see the comments, as much as I don't want them to have felt what I've felt and to experience what I've felt, what I hope is that people can connect and know that they're not on their own, because grief is a very, very lonely thing.
Yeah.
and I did actually go to CBT at one point a few years ago for various different things, and she did want to talk about the grief, and actually I said, I don't want to get counselled through it, I don't want to let go of it. And she kind of looked at me and I said, it's all I've got of him, all I've got of Jamie is my grief.
Yeah.
And I think if people can handle it in other ways, I mean, it's, you know, everyone handles it different, but I take it and I run with it. So that's my outlet really, and I can run with, and I can be with him on my own with nobody else around, and we can just be, you know, together as I'm running in the air, you know, in the surroundings where he was, you know, being nurtured.
So with you, moving on a little bit, and I suppose this is Jamie in some ways being your angel, following you, you have picked up speed. And when we do see your races, some of them, you do actually win them. What?
I haven't won many.
Yeah, but still, it's like, wow, you know, and you've built a gym now in your house, you know, you've got, you know, you're very focused.
Yeah,
You're
credit to
getting
Dennis for
yourself,
that. He built the gym.
yeah, you're getting yourself very fit and very strong. So has running now become your life, you know, because you do focus a lot on your body and you see the results on the races?
Yeah, it's, to be honest, I guess with social media, it comes across differently. I mean, I run 5 days a week, and some of those runs will be 45 minutes to an hour. So it's not taking up as much a chunk of my life as it may come across. You know, people see Strava, and if you haven't been on Strava, for example, for a few days, you see lots of activities come up. So it looks like somebody might have done a lot, but actually, you know, it's just been over a period of days. And the strength work, I mean, it's really important for me. I mean, I'm no spring chicken. I'm 50 next year, so
You're looking good.
Thank you. So I have to look after my joints and my, you know, my bone density, and make sure that, I mean, I'm quite tight. I think because I do quite a lot of speed work and stuff, I am quite tight. I really ought to do yoga, but I need somebody to tell me what to do. I do quite, I mean, I think it's really important. You need to stretch and you need to get the roller, and you need, you know, I sit on a ball and all the rest of it. I do that several times a week, like a concentrated session, not just a few minutes at the end of a run. And I do get sports massages, you know, every now and again. I just had my first one again last week after months and months of being off.
Wow, it must have felt like Christmas.
It was very, very painful, I can tell you.
So tell us about the types of races that you enter and distances.
Okay, so my favourite distance is long distance. I like to do the odd 10k. I really don't like 5k. It's just, it makes me feel sick, because I'm one of those where I have to be going at it. If I'm going to do it, I have to, you know, go for it. Unless I'm pacing at parkrun, that's my favourite thing, because I pace at parkrun. Obviously, we're not doing parkrun at the minute. I can't wait for parkrun to come back so I can get back to pacing. I just love it, absolutely love it. Get my blue bib on and off I go. Get my little, I feel like the Pied Piper. Got me little people following me. But I just love that. I love the camaraderie of parkrun. So that's my 5k. Parkrun is my amazing experience of 5k. I just love it. It's an amazing thing. I do race 5k occasionally, and that's just a set event that they have in Lancaster, and it's every 6 weeks when they're in race, you know, when we're racing again. Yeah. And I have to travel quite a long way to go and do it, and it's, you know, 5k.
Just for 5k.
But it's such a good setup. I really like the setup. I really like the race director, and I really like the camaraderie on the course. And you go in 2 waves, so the sub-20 go up at one time, and then half an hour later the rest of us go. Although my aim is to get into the first group, so I'm steadily edging my way towards it. And then that's all I do 5k wise. 10k, I don't mind 10k occasionally, but my favourite is marathon by far. I have done the occasional half marathon, and half marathon was the last race I did actually before lockdown, which was an interesting day because I don't know if you saw the story, but I was set to do Winslow half marathon, and I was all set up for Manchester Marathon to try and go for a PB. My training had been brilliant. I was nailing everything I needed to nail. I felt quite confident. Got up to do Winslow half marathon, which was my test. It was my big test, and I wanted to get a PB. So got up at 6 because obviously we had a bit of a journey to get there. Got in the shower, got out the shower, looked at my phone, text cancelled.
Oh no!
And you know when you're all geared up for something, I was
Yes,
like,
yes.
no, you can't do this to me. And it was because of lockdown, but lockdown hadn't come in yet, but because of the COVID spread, it was kind of the last weekend that people kind of really were racing. Well, unbeknownst to me, Carlisle half marathon, which is very close to me, had changed when I entered Winslow. They changed from October to March, which is why I'd entered Winslow, because I wanted a March half marathon.
Yes.
So on the day, I quickly went on their Facebook page. They were still running and they had entries on the day. I picked my number up at 20 to 9 and the race started at 9 o'clock.
Whoa, that's kind of fine. you was racing no matter what that day.
Oh my God, I tell you. And then I was like, oh, it's windy. And when Janice was like, pull yourself together. So I went and flipped and won it. I was like, no way.
Oh my God.
So that
wow.
was quite that was a good way. And I've still got the time, you know, the little paper timing chip thing that around your trainers. I've still got that on my trainer because I thought I'm so proud of that, because I could have been a complete meltdown. And I just kind of focused myself and got off there, and yeah, it was a good day. Got my PB, and then that was the end of racing.
So what did you win? What did you win?
So I've lost you. I won a big trophy. It's really heavy. Yes, I won a big trophy. And it was really good because a guy from my running club won the men's race as well. So the two of us, yeah, that was really quite a special moment actually. And Dennis hadn't been training so much, so he was watching. So it's very rare that he's at the finish line before I am, and he wasn't racing, so he was there to see me come in, and that was really special actually. And he'd been looking at his watch, because he knew what kind of time I should have been doing, and no women had come in, and all my teammates who had been doing the 10k, because that started at the same time, they were going, when do you think she's going to come in now? And he was like, she should be in any minute. And you know, of course, lo and behold, and my profile actually is me coming into the finishing straight. I've got a massive smile on my face. I was just like, I can't believe this.
Wow. So what was your time? What was your time?
1:32:12.
Is that your fastest for a half?
That's my fastest half, yeah. I was about a minute and a half off. I knocked about a minute and a half off, yeah. So I was really chuffed to bits.
Do you think it was the adrenaline of suddenly changing half marathons, or the fact that, oh my God, we're going into lockdown, this could be my last race?
You know, I don't know. I think sometimes you just have those days when all the stars are aligned and it all just kind of goes well. I mean, I was looking at my pace and I was thinking, but I feel comfortable, and I feel, I mean, I didn't know until I got to mile 9 actually that I was leading the race, because the 10k set off from the same point at the same time. So I knew that there were ladies in front of me, but obviously they must have all been doing the 10k and they split off at some point. But by that stage, you know, you've spread out. So I didn't know till mile 9, but I mean, 4 miles is a long flipping way to go when you've suddenly got the responsibility of being told you're first lady. I'm like, oh God, I've still got 4 miles to do at this pace. But I held on, and it was really quite a special moment. But my favourite distance is marathon. Definitely.
So how many have you done? How many marathons?
I don't know. I think including ultras, I've done 28, 29. I'm not really kind of a statistician in that way. I am in terms of my own numbers and, you know, how I've done and that kind of thing. But in terms of numbers and medals, and that isn't as important to me as my journey and my progress. That's kind of more important. Some of my marathons have been for me, other marathons I've run with other people, some marathons Dennis and I've just done together as a jolly, and they're all, you know, they're all as special as each other. There isn't really actually the one I didn't like, the only marathon that I didn't really like that much was my first one, London.
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
I don't know. I think because I wasn't used to running in crowds. I live in Cumbria. I train on,
Is it?
you know, I train on rural roads. I run mostly by myself. I mean, I do more club runs now than I used to, but at the time, I wasn't really a member of a club, so I kind of was doing it. I done all my training on my own, and I just found it a disappointment.
Is it
I
because you
feel
couldn't
terrible saying
run?
this.
Is it because you couldn't run straight? You had to run around all the charity people and
No,
just
no,
general
no.
runners.
No, the general. You see, part of the problem of that was my own doing, because I was new at running and I was new at marathon running. Obviously, it was my first marathon, but I was new at running when I entered. So
Oh,
when
okay.
you enter, you have to put down an estimated time. And I had no idea what I could run a marathon at, absolutely no
What
idea.
did
And I
you
thought it
put?
was
3 hours.
5.5.
And what did you
5.5
do?
I put down. I did 3:47.
Oh,
So I
wow.
was in kind of the party section. Um, and by the time I got to the day, I was targeting 4 hours. I knew that, and I also knew that a year earlier I put down 5 hours or 5.5 hours. So
Oh,
on the
no.
day, I just had to kind of get past people, and you see, that's the thing. If you take nothing else from this, take this. You can actually get past people and get the time you want. Um, so you just have to keep calm and just keep pushing forward, and you know, and not get het up by it, and you just waste energy otherwise. But yeah, that, and the bottles and the support was amazing. I have to say, the support is just, in London, there's nothing like it. It is absolutely incredible. Just and also I was having a difficult time in my personal life as well, so I think the whole thing, you know, and with London, you can't have people at the finish line. There's nobody at the finish line for you, because
Yeah.
they're spectators quite a long way away. So your first marathon, and you've got all this emotion and all this, oh my goodness, I just did that, and oh my goodness, I just
You're
got the time
crying.
that I wanted, and oh my, and you're crying and you're looking around and there's nobody there, and you know, so you start hugging complete strangers, don't you, which is what
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, they're your
And then
best friends.
and then you've literally got to somehow get your legs moving again, because I always feel like if you do a marathon and you're running at pace, I'm not talking about when you jolly it, because you know, I've done quite a lot of jolly marathons, but when you're targeting a marathon and you've trained for it and you're going at pace,
Yeah.
I always feel like when you cross over that finish line, it's like a plane landing and the engine's go into reverse thrust, and your
Okay.
body just starts to seize up. That's how I feel it. That's kind of how I feel. You know, your body's starting to
Yeah.
shut down almost.
Okay.
And if it's not, you haven't been going fast enough. But
It's fine.
you could have gone harder. Actually, saying that, two of my favourite events I've ever done have been South Downs Way 50 and Lakeland 50. And I had such a blast doing those. And marathon is my favourite distance, but in terms of experience, ultra is something else.
So just for someone
Um,
like myself that hasn't done an ultra, I'm told the training is a lot different. No one ever asks you your time after you've done an ultra,
no,
because
no,
it's
no, no.
totally different to a
I didn't
marathon.
train any different. I
You
didn't
don't?
train any differently. I didn't train any differently. I think if you're doing 100-miler, that might be different, but I was doing 50 miles. Well, an ultra starts at 50k, which is 30 miles. So, I mean, you know, you're 26.2, you're not having to do really much else in order to get to that 50k. So when you get a step up to say 50, I might have done a few extra of the 20-ish milers leading up to it, but that's pretty much it. Because with the ultras, a lot of the ultras are up here, most of the ultras up here, they're hilly, so you're not
Yeah.
running the whole route. you can kind of get your breath back and you can fuel as you're going uphill. And that's kind of the secret to keeping going and getting your time. If you want to do it in a reasonable time, it's all about managing your body, making sure you eat the right things, making sure you hydrate in the right way, not necessarily doing this all the time, doing it the right way and the way that works for your body. So it's good to practice that kind of thing with an ultra. Things like getting in and out of an aid station, get in, check in, grab, get your water bottles refilled. If you want electrolyte, get that refilled. If you want to grab some food, a good thing to do that a lot of people do is take a little plastic bag with them, grab a load of stuff, stick it in the bag. And then normally on hilly ultras, your aid station will be at the bottom of the hill after you've come down before you go up another hill. So what you do then is you walk up that hill, get your food on board. It's great, works really well.
So what's your favourite snack?
I seem to have lost you, Michelle. Are you back?
I'm back. What's your favourite snack? Your favourite snack?
Just generally, or on an ultra?
Just when you're running, what's your must-have?
In general.
Oh, you're cutting out. Is it like your phone moved or something?
Yeah, you're cutting out.
You've frozen.
You're going to have to edit all of this.
Yeah, I'll have to. I can hear you clearly. It's just your image. Your eyes have moved. Hang on a minute. Da-da-da. The joys of podcasting. Don't worry, we can edit this bit. So
your lips aren't in sync with your sound.
Same with you on my end.
It's caught up now. Caught up now.
Okay.
Right, so snack.
Your favourite snack, whether it's marathon or ultra, what's your must-have? M&Ms, Blackjacks?
Marathons, I don't fuel for. I don't fuel on marathons. Nutrition, I eat low carb, high fat, so I'll have like quite a lot of fat in my breakfast. So when I say fat, it'd be like eggs with, like scrambled eggs with cheese and maybe a bit of, the crispy bacon strips, snack things. Yeah. So I'll have something like that for my breakfast, maybe a bulletproof coffee, which has fat in it. So that will last me for the whole of a marathon, no problem. I might grab water, but generally manage most of it without, I wouldn't recommend any of this to anybody. This is tried and tested with me. I'm used to it. Obviously you have to do your own plans and work it out yourselves. I would certainly never say go, all that distance without any liquid, but it's just me. It just works for me. I'm used to it. I'm used to training like that. If it was hot conditions, then that's different. Then you have to account for that. But spring marathons generally, especially up north, are generally not hot. So usually manage to get away with it. Yeah, and I am listening to my body the whole time. If I feel that I need it, then obviously I will grab something at that point. Gels, I just don't do. In terms of going to ultras, generally my go-to ultra food will be cheese and some cashew nuts or some Brazil nuts or something. That's generally what I'll have. I eat quite a lot of cheese. Later on in an ultra, I generally find it's fruit that I want some fruit. So usually, you get the liquid as well, don't you, with the fruit? So you get some juice, and if you've got oranges and that kind of thing. And grapes. So that's generally my go-to stuff. At the end, I don't know, just whatever's going.
I was going to say, how do you treat yourself afterwards? Do you have a glass of wine, gin, beer? What's your
Not
treat?
anymore. I haven't had a drink since beginning of last September.
Wow. Is there a reason?
Probably would have had. No, I stopped for 2 weeks and then never went back.
Oh wow! Okay, and you've noticed a difference in your running and your
body? I've noticed a difference in my outlook and in my sleep patterns and in my focus and in my attitude to training and everything. Really, it's only been a positive thing for me. I love my Peroni non-alcoholic beer, so I have to have one of those several nights a week. And to me, it's an indulgence because I'm low carb, high fat. There's obviously a higher carb content in it. So even though it's not alcoholic, it is still a treat.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it has to be really cold. But other than that, no, I stopped at the end of last summer when we'd been away for a couple of weeks, and and then before that we'd had another holiday in Austria, like a walking holiday, which was lovely. And you just get to the point through the summer where you kind of, oh, it's sunny, let's have a glass of this. It's sunny, let's have a glass of that. We're sitting in the garden, we're going to a beer garden. It kind of gets, I think it gets ramped up a little bit over the summer. And I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to have a couple of weeks off, reset my button, and then go back to just, weekend only for a while and see how that goes. Well, I just didn't miss it. So I just felt better without it. So for me, it hasn't been banned. I haven't banned it. I've not said I'm never going to have a drink again or anything like that. But for the time being, I'm quite happy as I am. So, and I'm more productive, definitely more productive. But the thing is as well with training, I have a coach and I have some quite heavy training sessions to do. And if you're not feeling it and you're not feeling 100% and you're a bit tired, a bit lethargic, a bit dehydrated, there's all the things that you'll get through drinking, you're not going to get the best out of that session. You might manage to hit some of it, most of it even, but you're not going to get the best training effect. So while I'm kind of still chasing a target, which I am, even though we're not training at the minute, I'm still chasing a marathon PB and a marathon time. Until I've got that, then I'll still be doing this kind of more structured training.
So what race have you got that's not been cancelled yet? So to you, hopefully,
London.
Really? Oh, right.
London.
Okay.
What's going on with London?
Oh, that'll be cancelled. That'll be cancelled.
It's definitely going to be cancelled. I don't know what. I mean, we definitely think Boris wants to hang on to this for as long as possible. That's our interpretation of it, because he really doesn't want to let this go. He wants this big British parade going on, but it's definitely got to be cancelled. I mean, Manchester is the week after, and that's just been cancelled.
Yeah.
Everything. Do you know what, Michelle? I have completely lost track of what races I have now entered and when they are, because some got moved to next year.
Yeah,
and some
mine are all next year. Yeah.
I don't know what. I've still got Windermere Marathon. I think that's in November. Coniston 14. And there's another one that Dennis mentioned earlier that I've totally forgotten which one it is, and that's another one that we still haven't had final instructions for. But I don't think there's going to be any races this year, to be honest. I mean, I am due to do a 10k the beginning of August, and I don't know whether they'll get the full go ahead for that. And it's the way that they're doing it is they're starting it off in 10-minute waves all day Saturday and all day Sunday, and it's only a 10k and it's point to point. So in theory it should be quite a safe thing to do. So you're starting off in waves of 6 each 10 minutes, and they will put you into groups depending on your time, your predicted time. I still don't know whether that'll go ahead. It'd be nice if it does, to get just a little bit of racing back. But other than that, I don't know. What have you got booked?
I did have New York, but that was cancelled, and I was like, yay, because I've been since before. Well, my last race was the Oundle 20, the 20-mile run. And during that, I was fine. But after that, the next day, my whole leg from my hip down seized up. And
you've been injured, haven't you?
Yeah, piriformis syndrome.
Yeah.
And since then, I've got TFL, which is your pocket
muscle.
No.
No.
And that is the one that's given me the most grief. So I've had 5 sessions now of physio and still got to work on my strength. So for me, 2020 is a complete washout. So for me, my next race is the Peterborough Marathon,
which is
April
next
year.
I think Manchester's been put back to April. I mean, it was a bit tough actually, because when they changed the dates, they put London at the 4th of October.
I know. Oh, where are you gone again? Your phone keeps going.
My phone buzzes and it drops off, so I'll keep my hand here now, so it won't.
That's all right.
So they moved London to the 4th of October and then moved Manchester to a week after.
Yeah.
which was totally the wrong way round for me. Manchester
Oh.
was coming before London, and I was going to target Manchester and jolly London with Dennis. So when they swapped them round, I was like, oh, what am I going to do?
Well, they'll both be cancelled, both
They will go
cancelled.
to
So
cancelled, yeah.
I can't
Do you know what? I
see.
was so looking forward to it as well, because although I didn't enjoy London when I did it as a solo, I was really looking forward to a nice touristy weekend in London with Dennis, and we'd booked in to go and see The Lion King at the theatre and all kinds of. So that's all been refunded. So
Oh, he's
hopefully
lucky.
next year, yeah, fingers crossed.
I
But in the meantime, I've set up a group, a 5K group. So it's called Virtual Sanity 5K, and I've been had a group of people logging runs every week in the absence of
Okay.
parkrun. So they're not all exactly 5K. They don't have to be 5K. They don't have to do them exactly 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning. But I am trying to encourage people to get out at least once a week for their weekly shortish run.
Yeah.
And they get points, and every 3 weeks there's a target week, so they get points that week. They get PB points, and they're going to get. I've split them into groups depending on where they are time wise, and the winner of each group will get a trophy.
Oh wow! So what made
Isn't
you
it
start
great?
doing this then? What made you
Well, because
start?
I know the power of parkrun, and I know how many people would be just completely lost without that weekly community. So I just thought, well, let's just see if anybody's interested in doing something virtually. I mean, there's no entry fee, there's no medal, there's no, just I'll be doing these trophies, but it's a little community thing, and there's not lots of noise going on. There's not lots of traffic on the page. We literally post once a week. I give a motivational. Actually, one of the girls on it from my running club, Sarah, she's brilliant. She does an RD speech every week. She's absolutely brilliant. She does a little video. That's it gone again, but I've got my hand in front of it now. So I say a little shout out to Sarah. So she does an absolutely brilliant thing every week. I've lost this.
I can see
okay. You. So it's just really nice. I mean, a lot of people have dropped out after the initial few weeks, which is fine because people have good intentions and stuff. But the ones who are there, they have dips, and then they pick up again, and they have dips. And it's I feel like it's really important for me to try and keep people motivated, because as I said to them on Saturday morning, at the end of the day, parkrun's going to start up again, and lots of people will have fallen by the wayside, and you're all going to be chomping at the bit because you're all still fit.
Yeah,
So,
it's true. It's true. It's true.
I mean, me, I'm just chomping at the bit to get my pacing bib back on. But yeah, they can get going, and people are getting PBs. I mean, not necessarily 5K PBs, but PB on the course that they've chosen for this challenge.
Yeah.
So people are progressing, and that's really nice. And I made it. They were doing it every week, and then I decided at week 10. We're into week 18 now, and I decided at week 10 that right, we're not going to do PBs and points every week. If you want to do PBs every week, that's up to you. But people are starting to get a little bit worried and anxious, and feeling a lot of pressure. So we now do that every 3 weeks, so they can go out and do whatever other route they want in between and that kind of thing. So on the points weeks, they do their normal route, and they do it at the time that they want to do it. If they want to push, they can push. So it's good.
So
It's
what's
nice.
your? No, it's brilliant. What is your local park run, so we know?
Penrith.
Penrith. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Penrith.
And that a park run now do this not park run. Have you heard of that?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Have you been doing that as well yourself, or?
Generally not, because I generally do my own thing. I don't do 5K as a run very often, so it will be. I mean, I don't. In fact, I never run 5K. It's always longer. The only time I ever run 5K is when I'm doing parkrun or pacing. So for me, it doesn't fit in with what I'm doing. But I just think it's a great idea. Parkrun is just amazing, isn't it?
You're talking to me here. I could do a whole podcast plus a whole month's worth just talking about parkrun and my adventures. So
what Sarah says on the brief every week, and she always says this, she says, social distance, everything else. Keep yourself safe, because when parkrun does start up again, we want you to all be fit and well and come down to us, to French Fields, for the Penrith parkrun experience.
You know you're going to have huge tourism, but I don't know what your feeling is when parkrun comes back. Do you think it will reach record numbers straight away, or do you think anxiety levels will play a huge part in low numbers?
I think generally, I don't know what your experience is, but I think generally in the running community, people are not anxious about running with other runners. I mean, there are lots of reasons for that. Now, obviously, I'm not a scientist, but we're already people who know each other in the club. I'm not saying these are organised club runs, because they're not, but people who know each other through running club, i.e. runners who live in a similar area, have been meeting for social distance runs. And that's really nice that's happening again. And it's happening all over the country. It's not just, me and my peers that are doing it. And I think the thing about running is you are naturally social distancing. You're not running on top of somebody, because you catch the back of their foot and trip over or something.
No,
so
you don't want their glow on you.
Absolutely. And you're not face to face with people either. One of you isn't running backwards, and you're outdoors, and I live this silly thing. Sorry, it's every time I get a notification this happens. Get that off. Hang on.
Yeah. So we can hear in the.
Oh. I don't think people will be put off personally, and I think it can be done. I don't know where it needs to be in order for parkrun to come back. I mean, obviously they need to get a lot of the risk factors reduced, because I don't know whether they can, because there's a lot of the stuff that happens indoors and that kind of thing. Obviously people don't want to be going indoors, but at the same time there's no real need to go indoors, other than if I guess it's losing that kind of thing, isn't it?
Also,
but then you don't need to go in together, do you? So you don't do that in public lose now, do you?
One of our park runners on our page actually made a comment and saying that they didn't. This was a few weeks back, to be fair to him, and he made a very good point, saying that he didn't want his child to handle the finish tokens. And then it was like, yes, true. Even if they're washed, the finish tokens are what's handed out. I honestly, unless Bushy Park is the biggest one in the UK, and it's over 2,000 that attend there. So I don't think until events can have at least 2,000 to 2,500, parkrun would even consider.
Yeah.
But then looking at how fast the government is letting things go back to to the natural old ways quite quickly, I feel like we'll be all back running by the end of August at this rate.
Well, I think isn't it mass gatherings from? Is it October?
Yes. So you could be doing London. You could be doing London.
Well, exactly. I'm not sure I'd want to be doing London in October, to be honest. But you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, aren't you? It's a difficult decision by that stage. I mean, I guess you just have to take it day by day at the minute. I mean, staying motivated is one of the key things, and this is one of the reasons why I've set up the group I did. Because we never know when we're going back to it. Now, you can't indefinitely marathon train. It's not good for your body. And I haven't been marathon training, to be fair. My mileage isn't as high as it is certainly in the later stages of marathon training. My long runs are not long particularly. I'm into double figures but that's kind of about as far as it goes. There we go. I've just done it again. I do apologise, everyone. My phone's resting, so every time
that's why I like doing the videos, because then people, if they listen to the podcast, they can actually see how much is edited. So
I've lost my train of thought there. What were we saying?
We're saying about London and
So motivation is a big thing, isn't it? And a lot of people are saying to me, how can we be motivated if we've got nothing to train for? And just like, well, at the end of the day, we're
It's your
fit, we're
health.
healthy, we're able-bodied, we can do this. Nobody's forcing us to do it. And we all need a bit of our own time. We all need a bit of headspace, especially in this crazy situation we're in at the moment. Why would you not do it? Why would you not go running? You might not want to do the pace that you were doing when you're doing your speed sessions or your intervals, or you might not want to do your 16-18 mile run. No one's telling you have to do that, but why do you want to give it up? It's the one thing that is yours, and it's the one thing that is keeping you. I mean, if you do get COVID, you've got a better chance of having a really good recovery because you're fit and healthy.
Healthy.
It should be a motivator in itself, shouldn't it?
So one thing, we heard one of your dogs barking in the background. One of them is a puppy, or should I say, must be one. Dora must be one by now. But one thing I like about your posts is that it's not just you and Jamie that are out there running. You take your dogs too, and you take these wacky photos of your dogs with these funny faces, and they're just brilliant. They're spaniels, aren't they? So
Springer spaniels, yeah. I mean, they love the outdoors, and well, they're gun dogs by breed. So they're used to being jumping around in bracken, and that's kind of what they've been bred to do. Not my dogs, obviously, but they still jump around in bracken. They also like mud. They're really drawn to mud, my dogs. So it can be. I took them out in the forest last week, and it's a nice dry path, and they managed to find this really deep muddy puddle. I don't know where it came from because it hadn't been raining that day and it was dry everywhere, but no, they managed to find this muddy puddle. And I do take Cody out with me running. If I go off road, I generally take him out running with me. Dora's too little, she's only 9 months. Okay. So she can only do about 45 minutes at the minute, and that would be walking. I wouldn't take her for a 45-minute run. I would take her for a mile. That would probably be running. I would probably take her for a mile, and she could probably do 8 to 10 minutes for a mile, and then that would be enough for her because their joints are still, her bones are still growing, and you can impact on the joints. But yeah, Cody, he's a great running buddy. He's absolutely brilliant. He just goes, and he goes ahead. He keeps looking back, comes back for me, and it's nice because it doesn't. Does it affect your running? It might affect my running, actually. It might actually make me, go a little bit faster because I'm happy. I've got the adrenaline going with him being with me, and I'm happy because he's wagging his tail and he's happy. But I have him off lead if we go running, because I have taken him on the road on the lead, and I've had him on like a canicross lead occasionally where it's been attached to me. And the problem with dogs is they just go when they want to go. So all of a sudden I'll be running, and when he's running downhill, we're literally just about 6-minute miles going downhill with him, and all of a sudden he will literally stop dead to have a wee. Well, I then have to hurdle over him because I'm attached to him. He stops, and I'm like,
so
yeah, it's better when we're off road.
Do you do parkrun with Cody, or is it just when it's just you two?
No, because it's because of where it is at French Fields. There's no dogs allowed on the. It's kind of a playing fields really, with a kind of a gravel track around the outside. So there's no dogs allowed on there.
Oh, so just to wrap this up then, so what advice would you give anyone who is thinking about starting to run?
Put on a pair of trainers, lace up and go.
Just do it.
There's no reason not to go. There's no reason not to go. Just do what you can. Don't overcomplicate it. There's absolutely no need to overcomplicate it. Don't worry about times. Just increase the length of time that you're out there gradually. Start off with 10 minutes, start off with 15 minutes, however much you feel you can do. Try and run as much of it as you can. If you have to walk, fine. Don't worry about it, and just enjoy it. Join a club, go to parkrun when it's up again.
And then just going back to like what the main topic is with the grief and that, like you were saying, when you have runs and you do have your moments when you break down, do you believe like let that happen?
Can you hear me?
I can. I try and do a serious bit there, and then the phone goes. So that bang goes that. So for
Look at the
those
size
that,
of my thumb.
so for those that are dealing with grief in whatever way, and they have that moment during a run where they have to stop. What's your best? Just get on with it. Oh,
My baby.
oh.
If you have to stop, just stop. Take the moment. Everybody deals with grief in a different way, as we've said several times now, and just breathe through it. Just breathe through it, because if you can't breathe, you can't run. So this is one of the reasons why I've been out running and I've had to stop, because sometimes the pain in the pit of my stomach is so bad, I'm literally bent over double with it, and you have to stop. But it's all part of the process, and actually if you allow yourself those moments, it's actually quite cathartic. You can actually come through those few moments, just live through that moment, come through it, and quite often you feel you can breathe again properly, and just allow it to happen. Don't try and control grief. That's the most important thing. And if you can run or exercise, if not everybody likes running, I mean, weirdos, but
For those,
if
we
you
do
can,
have wheelchair users, Suzanne.
well, there you go. Well, that's their version of running. That's great. Whatever way that you can use your body to kind of process emotion, and running's a great way to do that, or any sport really is a great way to do that. So and a lot of people do turn to a sport after they've gone through a period of grief. So just embrace it and just allow it to wash over you. Take a moment and then move forwards.
Hey, we'll end on that then. Thank you, Suzanne. I'm going to stop recording.